So there's so much stuff going on with Benghazi. It's hard to kind of get all the facts in place. But basically, on last September 11th, our embassy in Libya was attacked. And then over the next couple days, the administration sort of rolled out these talking points that Susan Rice was going on all the talk shows and saying that this was a spontaneous thing having to do with that Innocence of Muslims YouTube video. How am I doing so far? Pretty
Great,
good. So far,
you're
so good.
on it.
And
I stopped reading about it after that, so now you're on
so
your
now
own.
I'm on my own. Okay, and then now it's come out last week after a congressional hearing that this was more of a premeditated attack, that they believe Muslim extremists were involved, and it was terrorism.
So?
Okay, so that's the big. Take it away.
So?
Does it matter? That was going to be my first question.
What's the difference? You have a few dead people. This was a wonderful ambassador. It's a horrible shame, and it's unfortunate, but there was a fabulous Huffington Post article last week, and I wish I remembered the gentleman's name, and he said George Bush's 15 Benghazis. And he listed the 15 embassy attacks under Bush's watch where many people were killed.
Right.
And nobody made this kind of hay out of it because they weren't desperate for something to hang their campaigns onto. These people should be ashamed of themselves, wasting the time. They are supposed to be advocating for their constituents, wasting their day at work on this crap.
And these are the same people who voted for cuts that cut back on security and military personnel and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think that everyone knows at this point that Republicans and conservative pundits on like Fox News are using this to their political advantage, which makes it such a despicable issue. But at the same time, I do think that there are people out there that are genuine in their concerns, and they're worried about the way that the situation was handled. So there were a number of violent attacks in the area prior to, the attack on the U.S. consulate in Benghazi.
Yeah.
And so there was a failure on the CIA's part there. And so that's a legitimate concern.
Not the first,
right?
not the last.
First,
Yeah.
no.
Not the worst either.
And I think that it's
bad.
a legitimate concern. I don't think the Obama administration handled it properly by trying to use innocence of Muslims as a scapegoat. Okay, they should have admitted that there was an issue and that they were working to investigate it and figure it out and make the CIA stronger when it comes to determining other attacks.
Yeah, wait, let me just jump in there for a
Yeah.
second. Why do you think they did that so quickly? Because that's what
Do you
Fox
think
News
they
seems to
actually
be.
thought for a moment that it was that?
Well, Fox News seems to be pushing this idea, or at least Lindsey Graham is pushing this idea.
What does Fox News matter in any actual
in
intelligent
a real debate?
In a real discussion.
Well, I'm taking the debate down there.
Well, here's how you end things like this, okay?
Yeah.
Here's what you do. Hillary Clinton should just come out and say, oh yes, I wanted everyone to die. Yeah, you're right. I wanted them to die. It worked out perfectly. What can they then say?
Well, she sort of did that
Good,
in the
because there's nothing else to
non-sarcastic
say
way.
to a moron than that.
Yeah.
These guys are not doing their job, and they're just, it's total bait and switch for governing. Leave this stuff to be, let this people rest in peace, and do your job.
Yeah, but do you think it matters that they did roll out what now has proven to sort of not be true, at least from the information
You mean like
we have?
Colin Powell bringing fake drugs to the UN
Right,
to say that it was
uranium
enriched
cake
uranium?
But do you think, Anna, do you think it matters whether it is?
I think it matters.
Whether the rollout.
I don't know what their intentions were. I don't know if they knew immediately, like, okay, innocence of Muslims was not really the problem, but let's find something to blame it on.
Yeah.
Regardless of what their intentions were, the media has used innocence of Muslims, or Obama using innocence of Muslims as a way to criticize him, as a way to spin it and make it seem like he found a cheap scapegoat.
Yeah.
So that's an issue. I think as soon as it was clear that the CIA or that the Obama administration had a lack of intelligence, they should have come forward and said, look, there was an issue. We're being honest with the public, but there's always a lack of transparency.
You can't do it because you can't be a decent, honest human being in this climate because they're like wolves now, the other side. They'll just tear his throat out if he shows a bit of that kind of honesty.
Right, but you could also be honest and just say, like, look, the CIA doesn't have like superpowers. There are going to be flaws in intelligence, and you can't have.
Nobody wants to hear
Right,
that.
that's unfortunate. Right, we all want that intellectually.
Everybody wants to be made safe.
I know.
They
it's
think
ridiculous.
they're being made safe. Do you know why there hasn't been an attack? Because no one's planned one yet. Maybe they've thwarted some things, but you cannot be made safe. You have to know that life goes on, and there are open holes for crazy people.
So I actually have a question because I'm very curious to see what you think. So there are rumors that the reason why the right is really holding on to this issue is because in 2016, the Republicans want to use this as a way to attack Hillary Clinton.
Are they going to talk about it for 3 more years?
That's
No,
what I'm
right,
wondering.
gonna-
Is that a legitimate thing to say?
Well, it seems obvious to me that they're going to hold this thing so that the fall goes on Hillary. And even today, you could see people were already saying, is Obama now going to have to throw Hillary under the bus as this thing keeps getting bigger?
Well,
So
it'd
it's
be ridiculous if you let them determine that.
Right.
But the point is they have to, it's like planting a tree. I mean, they have to plant it so deep right now that it flowers in 3 years. When they refer back to it, they have to plant. And what they've learned from the Bush administration is the way Bush and Cheney got away with everything. If you look at their speeches, the words 9/11 were 1,000 times a week.
Yeah.
If
That
not
was
10,000 times a week.
the Rubin
They learn.
Giuliani theory.
Yes, if you repeat and you repeat and you repeat, and then that's what it is. So they're planting the Benghazi seeds for later, but there's nothing there.
Yeah, but all right. So, as obviously someone on the more progressive side, do you fear that if the progressives become as bad, use those same evil tactics, are we losing something in the process of that?
Well, have we used the same evil tactics? You mean
But-
because he lied about?
Yeah.
He tried to change the
Yeah.
story.
If the other side uses the bad tactics too, like what are we losing in the course of that?
I don't like to see anybody lose. No, I'm not willing to do anything. But if he made a mistake, he made a mistake. The deaths had occurred already. If he gave the wrong story and a bad story or he lied, okay. His lying did not cause more deaths. And he didn't lie to the point where he could continue to kill the way Bush and Cheney did in all these wars. It's wrong. He should, man up and move forward and not do it.
He should man up. I think the way that it played out, it made it seem like Obama was refusing to admit the failures of his own administration and looking for a cop-out. So that made him, in a lot of ways, that made him look weak.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Is there something weird about that we view the president in a way that he should know everything at all times?
Well,
why do we, even with the IRS thing, why do we think that some low-level employees, now they're saying low-level and it may have gotten a little higher, but that a bunch of guys in Cincinnati were doing something, and we think, well, the president should know about that, and we think the president should know about the security at the elevator in Benghazi. We think that this guy should basically be God, which I'm
Sometimes
pretty
you have unfair expectations of the president of the United States, but on the other hand, he's the president of the United States. You know what I mean?
So he's just going to get it.
Well,
not that you're just going to get it. Of course, you're a human. You're going to have flaws. That's totally understandable. But at the same time, when it comes to big issues like this, you should be briefed. You should know what's going on.
Yeah, and then on the other hand, because people do think he should know every single thing, and I really think this country has, in the last few decades, just embraced such a lack of responsibility, and there is this daddy issue in this country. Everybody wants this daddy to take care of everything. Keep us safe. What do people do to keep themselves safe? They complain every time they have to take their shoes off. There's so little responsibility and so much counting on someone taking care of you that they're just appalled or frightened when there's a little break in the power.
Yeah, that's really interesting. It brings up something I've been thinking about lately, that maybe in America we need what they have in most of Europe, which is a prime minister who really serves as what our president is, the guy doing policy, and then have a president that's more in line with something ceremonial, because I feel like we get all our ceremonial stuff out with Obama, but maybe we need really like some hardcore prick to be the president, and he's not a hardcore prick, but we love him dancing with Beyonce and all that stuff.
Maybe
I
we
didn't love it so much.
emphasize.
You didn't like it? You wanted to dance with him.
I wanted to dance with Beyonce.
Yeah.
Maybe we emphasize the role of the vice president. I mean, the vice president
Well,
is
wait
like
a
the
minute.
most
Yeah,
We tried that last time.
Oh, no, yeah, that was a nightmare.
Yeah,
Yeah, that
exactly.
wasn't so
But
good.
maybe the public gets to vote on who the vice president is as well, as opposed to having like.
You know what I think? I think that once the president's elected, there has to be the vice president from the other party, and then Congress has to work with the two of them.
Ooh, that's an
because
interesting
they
suggestion.
both have to win.
I like that.
Yeah, I like it
You
too.
heard it here first, people. Elayne Boosler changing the face of the nation.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Or maybe you'll run. How about that?
Oh no,
we could use a comedian, don't you think?
We've had several, and I think the amount of times I've used certain words on my Facebook page would just eliminate me from being able to run.
Exactly.
Because we sure love cursing and writing.
Bonobos is the official outfitter of the Rubin Report. I want to put you in this shirt. Go to bonobos.com, enter code TRR20 for 20% off your first purchase.